So now that the bulk of free agency has gone down, we're moving towards more of the draft. And one of the things that the Browns really didn't address aggressively as of now, as of recording this video, is the other edge rushing position opposite of Myles Garrett. Yes, they got Takk McKinley, but that's kind of just a replacement for Olivier Vernon. They still had issues last year when it came to depth, and they already got rid of Adrian Claiborne, so there's one less body there. They don't really have anybody to replace. So there's a move there that they're going to have to make, and that move is probably going to happen in the draft. And I've said in this draft that I'm not very impressed with a lot of the defensive prospects, but there is one edge prospect that does jump out to me. Jaelan Phillips. So do I like him? Is this somebody I think the Browns should draft or going to have a chance to draft? Well, let's talk about that. But before I get into that, I want to make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ding that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I upload. The draft season's coming. Free agency still looming over us. So make sure you're subscribed and notified so you don't miss a single thing and you can get all this coverage while I'm doing it. Also, I want to give a shout out to the patreon.com dog check tier members. And as always, I start with Michael Matique, the most dangerous man in Cleveland, DJ Marino V, Cleveland Cart, Matt H, Greedy Shoulder, Gemini, Liam Freeman, Fight Dirty 74, Yo-Yo, Matt Lloyd, Paul Wilcox, Hundo, Magnifico, Rob Ferron, Kyle Stouffer, Lukey from Munich, Deveroff, J Guy 101, Musty Taco, Joe Bobby, Brad Cabo, Dylon W, James McGinty, Arinda Hall, Rex Kaufman, Chad Gimme, David Maldonado, Andrew Sadeo, Dylan Hill, Josh Bendor, Jalil Salim Jr., Martha Crustnut, Mark M, TJ Showman, Stuart Moore, Bubba Regretti, Anthony O, Cleveland BCI, Robert Jermaine Jr., Dave Mike May, John Cummings, Andrew Hirsch, Curtis Bear, Batman Rusher, Barack Kumar, John Albert, Beerman 069, Masayua, Buds of Roland, James Nemo, Mac House, Reeve Hurst, Philip Wilcoxon, Marie Vibert, Keith Anderson, Sean Barron, Goggles Bizano, Corporal Nick Lopez, Dom Godzillo, Nick Nasty, Ian Williker, Colin 216, Anthony Latham, Christian Madmon, Dave Strong, Michael Stone, Soul Train, Charles Work, Billy, Michael Holdenack, Moose Gentry, Austin Z, Mark Burnett II, Andre Griffin, Otis Wolf, IT Rex, Greg Ehlers, Lydia, Austin Boland, Kirkabard, Jesus Serrano, Chris Fawn, Pickdown, Browns Backers, Mark Kahn, Johan Hulf, Kevin Johnson, Max Aldojo, and Water Bear Marketing. Again, guys, thank you so much for the support on Patreon, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you give it. I am glad to receive it. Now let's talk about Jaelan Phillips and whether he's a fit for the Cleveland Browns. Now, Jaelan Phillips is an interesting prospect because he's one that hasn't had a lot of hype. The situation at Miami with the pass rushing is such a weird one, right? Because the guy who's getting a lot of hype, I don't think is the guy who should get the hype. That's Gregory Rousseau, who, he had 15 and a half sacks in 2019. I'm not in love with his tape. I'll get to him probably sometime before the draft, but he's not the guy who's getting all the hype, at least right now. But the guy who should be getting most of the hype for the Miami pass rush is the other guy who wore 15 the year after him, and that's Jaelan Phillips, because I really, really like his game. Now, to explain why I like his game, I'm going to jump into the film room and break it down. So now we're going to look at the tape here. Jaelan Phillips, number 15 from Miami. This gentleman right here is who you're going to want to watch. He is a good football player. I like him a lot. I think that he's somebody that could be, somebody who falls from anywhere from 15 to late 20s. He could be available for the Cleveland Browns. He could not. We'll see how draft hype goes. With this edge rushing class, there's no top guy. And it's so polarizing within, what people think in the scouting community of all of these edge rushers, that there's no consensus. So usually what it means in a draft, when it comes to a position where there's no consensus, it can either be the Wild West and guys are getting taken way earlier than you think, like how the quarterback, right? There is a consensus number one with Trevor Lawrence. After that, it's anybody's guess. And now you're talking about Mac Jones at number 3 overall and things like that. Same things happening with the pass rushing market. Not a lot of consensus between scouts. So maybe he's number 1 on somebody's board. He could be number 5 on somebody else's board. It's just that kind of volatility. But I will say he's probably number 1 on my board as far as pass rushers go. I really like him a lot. I'm going to show you why I like him a lot. And we're going to start with this play right here versus Clemson. And, it's the small things, right? I like how he comes up here, hugs the edge, Make sure that he's not going to give away this edge if it's like a reverse counter, or if Lawrence picks it up and runs his way. He's patient. He waits for the exchange, and then he tries to attack, and then he gets there. Again, small things, but I like it. And he's inconsistent, I will say, in this area. Sometimes he's really good about it, really good about making sure he attacks at the right time, really good about being patient. Other times he wants the back door so fast that he takes himself out the play. So that's a good example of him in the run game where he does the right thing. But this is what I'm talking about with the back door, right? He's here, number 15, going against his left tackle. Watch this area right here. And he tries to go back door here. Well, he tries to force his way over towards the guard here. Ends up just creating a mess with his linebacker. Just clogs it all up. And it does two things, right? The one, the linebacker, there's no way he's going to be able to get off. He's not able to get off to stop this. And then the running back gets the edge. So, he's not polished in the run game. He's very polished, though, as a pass rusher, but he's not polished as a run defender. He needs to grow in that respect. This is a good example of his polish as a pass rusher, right? He gets through here, and they're doing a fake reverse screen here. So what's happening is that these two guards, these guys right here, they're going to let him through because they're going to pull out and run a screen that's going to end up right here. It's a slip screen, essentially, right? If you ever played Madden, you're familiar with it. You let the defensive line through. A lot of times defensive players will get caught on this. It's not really their fault. I don't really blame defensive players for getting caught on it. It's all about how you react once you know you're kind of in a trap. That's important. And I like what he does here, right? He gets let through. Watch 15 in white. He gets let through. He kind of recognizes that this is going to be a screen over his head. You see the tight end setting up for the screen pass. And he disrupts it. He gets long and strong, disrupts it, forces it to plan B. This is Clemson versus Miami, so the plan B actually works out pretty good. But that's what you want to see, right? This is a great example, and he's on the other side here. So this is a great example of his underrated athletic ability. I don't know why he's not getting more attention as in this draft class. I really think he's the best pass rusher. But look at the speed and the bend. He long arms 71 and then slaps the arm away on the opposite side. Forces Trevor Lawrence out, almost gets him right there, which would have been incredible because the bend he had to take, right? You see that angle. Look at the guy on the opposite end to see how special this angle, right? Number 2, he tries to get this bend, and you see how he takes a nice circular angle to get to the quarterback. Now look at 15 in that angle, and look how it's almost like a 90-degree turn that he does there with his bend. So he's a really good athlete at his size, especially. Trevor gets away from him. He does that. But look at the speed here to catch him up. That's terrifying, right? And then he forces the fumble. Having that kind of athletic ability in length and size opposite of Myles Garrett would be a really good idea. That's all I'm saying. Here is just more or less, look, he's inconsistent with the patience. He's on the opposite side now. Watch 15 in white. Watches the read option. He stays patient. They hang on. Trevor Lawrence does this great thing where he uses his length to kind of carry this out so he doesn't get caught up in it. And that way he could kind of throw a little block in there to help him get the short yards, the running back at least. So that's a good play by Trevor Lawrence. But it's a nice show that he has that patience. The seeds of the good run game technique and the good run game IQ is there. It just needs a little bit more polish, right? It's not a way. This guy is not a project at defensive end. If the Browns draft him, he's somebody I think can surprise a lot of people and start right away in the league. And here we're going to see the polish as a pass rusher, right? I've been talking a lot about his polish as a pass rusher. This is why, right? He's up against 71. He gets that arm, and then look. He gets that arm in there. So he ties up that tackle's left hand. So now all he has to do is watch that right hand, see when that tackle's going to punch. He times that punch up with his swing, gets him off, and then look how beautifully he releases in turn. That's a really good pass rush. That's great polish. It didn't result in a sack, but not all great pass rushes result in sacks. That's just great technique. That's nice. That's really nice. The one criticism I have of him, though, is that he does love to go back inside or backdoor a little bit too often. I think it kind of goes to his detriment here, especially in these short yardage situations. You're going to see him opposite side of the field right here. He's going to go inside. It's going to kind of muck up the defensive line here. You know, he turns, he cuts over. You see how he's focused kind of on that running back. Whenever he sees a reason to go inside, he'll take it. And that's a little bit of a concern. Browns fans remember Barkevious Mingo. He had this same problem where he loved to go inside so much that if you gave him any reason to go inside, he will. And it caused him a lot of issues, right, where just teams were just baiting him inside all the time. He's got to kind of control that, right, because that's what Clemson did here. They saw that tendency. They baited him inside, and they took the edge. This is another example of him. Now he's on the close side of your screen, 15 right here. To watch, he goes inside here. And they're ready for it, right? He tries to go back door, and that guard knows what's up, right? He's kind of hanging on 99. He's waiting to see the move inside, and then boom, punch him in the chest. And then it's not his fault they scored a touchdown, but they do score a touchdown on that play. Now, this is some tape against Duke. And again, look, these are kind of nitpicks at this point about this player because, yes, he goes inside a little bit too much. Yes, it is a little bit predictable, but also he is really good at going inside, right? Like, I know it's Duke. There's probably not a single NFL player on that offensive line. But he just runs through them. Like, there's a reason he does it all the time. And then look here. I've been talking about inside-outside versatility when it comes to a defensive lineman that I want the Browns to get. Look at that inside-outside versatility right here. Inside. Woo, nice swim move. The hands never had a chance to get on this man's jersey. Look. Bad technique by that offensive lineman, by the way, because look, the butt's out. He's off balance. He could get moved around. He ain't got no control over his body right now. And Jaelan just takes advantage of that. Gets in real quick. Should have that sack, by the way. That's a nitpick, but he should have that sack there. And then this is just, when you look at him, you see the technical stuff. You see some of the athleticism shining through, but he really combines his athleticism with his sack technician skills for something I think is going to be a really nice combination in the NFL. Watch the spin move he hits here. So again, like, he's a good athlete. He's long, he's strong, he can play inside, outside. This is a great fit for the Cleveland Browns. This is somebody who's worth trading up for if you're the Cleveland Browns. Now, it's not like a trade into the top 10 type thing, but if he's there after 15 and you have a trade partner that you can work with, I think he's one of those guys that you would be very comfortable making that move up to get, because this is what you want next to Miles. I don't think you have a lot of guys who are great fits next to Miles in this draft. You have some really athletic guys with not a lot of size. This is the one guy who I think can be a competent pass rusher in the NFL, also play inside, outside in the NFL. Now, I think he's more of a discount Watt brother than a Watt brother, but he kind of is in that mold of somebody who can go inside, outside, and that's really good for the later part of the first round if you can get him. And I like how he uses his athleticism. And I talked about his athleticism. He's still a great athlete, but he's also in control, right? This play right here is a great example. He doesn't get blocked, so this is just all, can you move your hips? How athletic are you? And are you in control, right? Because he could have easily chased that quarterback. A lot of defensive ends would, but he's moving fast enough to get there and disrupt this play, but also kind of in control enough to once he sees the adjustment or the trick play, that he can just stop that dead in its tracks. Like that was dead in its tracks right there, right? And it's kind of like what I talked about with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, right? He's fast, but he processes fast. This guy is fast, but he also processes really fast. So his speed, he never looks like he's just too athletic for his own good. And again, inside outside versatility. Look at that. That's an Aaron Donald move, by the way. But inside outside versatility. That's what you like to see. Now let's get back to the studio. So I think Jaelan is a really polished player. I think he's somebody who has a lot of skills and some of those sack technician traits that you would like to see out of somebody that you're going to be drafting in the first round. Also, I think he has some of that raw athletic ability. He's fast. He runs a fast 40. He has good bend. He's really athletic. He's just such a technician and so patient when he plays most of the time that you don't really notice his athleticism, which is fine with me. I would rather have more functional athletes than, spark score athletes. So that being said, this guy is quickly, while watching his tape, jumped into the same packet of players that if they're available at 15, I would want the Browns to consider trading up to go get. So it's Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, him, probably J.C. Horn is going to be in that packet. I have to look at him more in depth, but I think those are some players that, hey, if they're there at 15 and you have a good trade partner or a trade in place, I would consider making that move to get one of those players, because I really think that those guys could address three kind of important needs for this team, which is either coverage from the inside out, coverage from the outside in, or when it comes to a good long-term solution to put next to Myles Garrett, I think that this guy can really develop into it. Now, is he the J.J. Watt hybrid that Brett Coleman kind of compared him to? I think there's a lot of reason to believe that. I think his analysis is very good, and I do recommend you guys watch that video because he does a really good job breaking it down from a more technical perspective. I'm just kind of breaking this down from a Browns perspective. I don't know if he's T.J. Watt. I don't think he's J.J. Watt, but I do think he's a more athletic kind of actualized version of like a Derek Barnett when he came out, a guy who was a really polished defensive end, a really good technician, but just not a good enough athlete to be a difference maker in the NFL. I think this guy, Jaelan Phillips, is that level of technician, but I also think he's a much better athlete and kind of a little bit of a physical freak for a guy who doesn't have the hype coming out of college. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think this guy is a potential steal? Do you think he'd be gone in the top 10? Let me know your thoughts down below. But again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.